Love to win. Winning is what it's all about. And, that goes every single client we represent, every single case, really zealous advocacy for our clients. Building revenue is easy, but what revenue is profitable? How does that add to your bottom line? Because the worst thing you want to do is start trading dollars.
Welcome back to another episode of the Success in South Florida podcast. I'm your host, Adam Rossen, and on today's episode, I'm very excited to bring to you attorney Glen Frost from Frost Law. Glen, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Oh, of course. I know we've been talking the last few months, wanted to get you on the show, so super happy that we're here. So let's really just start off, tell me about yourself. Where'd you grow up? And, we'll go from there.
So I grew up in the Northeast, just like so many of us down here in South Florida. And I moved to South Florida about 2 years ago and really enjoying myself here. I still do travel back and forth to the Northeast, but I'm here most of the time.
Okay. And so what is it that brought you down here 2 years ago?
A lot of my clients, because I do tax law, a lot of tax planning, as well as tax controversy, have moved to South Florida and building out a South Florida practice as well.
Okay, so they're taking great advantage of coming down for the weather. Obviously, after COVID, a lot of people moved down. I know our laws are a little better than some other states, but also with the tax stuff, it's nationwide, right, for you guys. So how has that been managing or having a firm that's based out of the Northeast while you're living down here?
It's been great. I mean, we have embraced the remote environment. And it's been good. Some of the attorneys will travel down here to South Florida, and all of our attorneys will travel to where the clients are throughout the country.
Okay, great. Now, how big is Frost Law?
So we're about 80 employees, approximately 40 attorneys.
Okay, so that's that's not really considered big law, but it's certainly not a mom and pop shop. At Rossen Law Firm, we have about 25 employees, 6 attorneys, and criminal law, of course, is very different than other areas of law. But for what you're doing, you've built a really nice sized firm. So let's kind of go rewind a little bit. Walk us through how that happened.
Sure. Yeah. So I started the practice in 2011. Prior to that, I worked at a large accounting firm. And I was already a CPA. So in law school, I wound up working for a tax law firm. I wound up learning the ropes when it comes to tax law. Then graduated law school, worked for about 1.5 years for a law firm, and then started my own practice and just kind of grew it ever since.
So starting that practice, were you able to take some clients with you? Did you have maybe a trusty, sidekick, legal assistant, or paralegal? Like, walk us through that decision-making process.
Sure. Yeah, it was just me at the time. And I took some of the clients that I had originated. I left the firm's clients there and, just made the move. And I realized I knew how to do the work and I knew how to work to bring the work in. One important kind of formula that I've always stayed true to is that I would practice law 50% of the time, and I would do client development, marketing, et cetera, the other 50% of the time.
Okay. Now, that's not something that we're really taught in law school. So how did that come about for you? How did you learn that stuff or have that mindset of, hey, I can be, half the time I can be that grinder, that great technician, that great legal mind, and accounting mind, right, as the two intersect, versus, but I want to originate business. I need to market. I need to do those things. So, where did that come from?
Yeah, as a CPA and an accounting major, there's a pretty significant emphasis on business. And, I mapped out what business profitability would look like and what I needed to do to hit certain metrics, certain profitability figures, certain growth figures, and always have kind of stayed true to those plans and those projections.
So that's really cool. So you got that from your background in accounting and CPA, but not from law, right?
That's right. They didn't teach any of that in law school.
No classes, no electives, no seminars, nothing. And I know for me too. But okay, so you took kind of a very systematic and financial approach, which is the exact opposite that I took to build my firm. When I was really building Rossen Law Firm, it was just hustle, market, sell. And I didn't really even get good with the finances until later on, which, is obviously not the way I would do it again. But it seems like you had kind of just a very particular, well thought out plan. Is that right?
Yeah, it was pretty well thought out.
Yeah. Okay. And so, here you are building this. I mean, was it fast growth immediately? Was it just kind of slow and sustained growth, right? Because somebody will look at you and go, wow, Glenn has an 80-person law firm. That's huge. And, one of the sayings is, yeah, it took me 20 years to become an overnight success, right? Mm-hmm. So was it just little incremental growth, or was there kind of an inflection point where you guys just had that hockey stick growth?
It was pretty consistent growth, I'd say, all along the way. Kind of the first month I tried it on my own and then realized this was way too much. I was bringing in too many clients. It wasn't sustainable, and it was hurting my marketing and client development side because I was exceeding that 50% threshold. So my first hire, I brought in a law clerk, and she's still with me today. She's an attorney, CPA now, but she was in law school, and I told her, half the time you'll spend helping me practice law, half the time you'll help with administrative tasks at the firm. So we brought her in after 1 month, and then realized about 2 months later that wasn't enough, and that's when I hired my first associate attorney.
Okay, so fantastic. So it looks like you just hit the ground running. And I guess when you can bring in cases and clients that you had originated, it definitely helps. I know when I was a young prosecutor, I didn't have any cases that I originated. The people that I'm prosecuting don't really want to, you can't really solicit them to have them come over and say, hey, I'm a defense lawyer now. A little different, back in the day when if you were a public defender, there were certain ways where you can go to your clients and say, hey, scrounge around a few dollars here and there, and I can, represent you now when I leave. But I didn't really have that luxury. So for us, it was totally different. But that seems like it gave you just a really nice kind of kickstart to everything.
It did. Yeah. And tax hits so many different areas. As a CPA, I could advise on accounting side of things, and then as a lawyer could obviously advise on the tax side. So it's, I feel like almost a general practitioner when I'm practicing tax law, because it can be a transactional tax issue one day, the next day I'm dealing with a criminal tax issue.
Right, obviously. And you guys also do estate planning as well?
We do.
Now, did you do that initially from day one?
No, I really focused mainly on the tax controversy, so the IRS resolution, the tax litigation. And then, what happened along the way, we started building the firm, started solving clients' multi-million-dollar tax problems, and realized what else could we do for them? We did a great job for them. We couldn't do anything else. So after, about 5 years, we realized business law as well as estate planning would be two great areas that we could maintain those relationships going forward.
And they're all interconnected so well, especially when you're dealing with wealthy clients.
Yes.
Right, and clients that need those services. So it makes complete sense. So again, another smart business decision. Now, as you're building the firm, did you have any mentors in your life at that time that were just like, that you relied on and went to for help or advice, or not?
I think I learned from everyone, right? I talked to everyone I could think of, everyone that was successful, that, and would go to them for advice and just listen. That's the biggest thing. Just listen to successful people and what they're doing. And, that allows you to make changes that will benefit your business.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. No, and we've had the benefit of talking to so many different people on this show, and it runs the whole gamut of, have people help them through their lives or not, and to what degree, right? So I completely agree with you. Mentors are great, and it's just the level of relationship. You can learn something from everybody, and a lot of times when you meet somebody new or you're developing a relationship, just sitting and listening and just listening. And even if it's just an old war story, there's lessons that you can glean from that old war story. It's not just, oh, there he goes again telling me X, Y, and Z. Growing up, I would just listen to my grandfather talk and be the same stories, right, at some point over and over again. But there was so much hidden value in things, especially years later, that I can reflect back on that certain story and just be like, oh, so I didn't even get it then, but there was a lesson in here for me to learn and just grow from. So that's fantastic. And All right, so you're just kind of growing a little bit incrementally, right? And how did you guys do during COVID? Because I know that, changed everything. And I was fortunate enough to, meet Rebecca when she was on a bunch of podcasts and shows, as one of your attorneys, and just seeing how she was getting out and spreading the word about all these changes, things that were going on with tax law and all the pandemic related, COVID stuff. So did you guys have like a game plan for that?
Yeah, I mean, COVID was scary, right? I mean, I was spending the night in the office reading up on the legislation and the CARES Act when it came out because it was a scary time. And they basically shut down IRS enforcement. And that's my business, is IRS tax controversy and IRS enforcement. And that stopped. So what we had to do was be dynamic, and we had to pivot quickly. And so we did that by, digesting a lot of the, government programs that came out, whether it was the PPP program, the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loans, Restaurant Revitalization Fund, and Employee Retention Credit. We had to navigate all of these new programs and help our clients digest all of this information in a very fast period of time.
Right. Now, how big was the firm at the beginning of COVID?
It was probably 50 or 60 people at that point. Yeah.
So you've still grown. You guys have grown.
We're still growing.
At least 20-30%.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. I know at the very beginning of COVID, we were 6 people total in the firm, and now we're about 25. So we've grown quite a bit as well. And so as you guys are kind of just, worrying about that, going through it, did you have a specific marketing plan, or was it just to hit your list and inform people of what was going on? Or, and how did you handle it? Did you huddle the team up and say, all right, guys, we're going to be okay? What kind of leadership did you display?
Yeah. We certainly, we focused first on our clients, digesting things for our current and active clients, and, putting them at ease and explaining these relief programs to them. And then we started marketing, and we embraced obviously remote technology. We embraced doing webinars, and, we've done hundreds and hundreds of webinars since the pandemic times, and, kind of continue to do that today. In terms of the team, it's important to, do, different huddles and smaller groups. We do at least quarterly status of the firm updates to everyone, but it's just that constant communication. And when you're dealing with remote employees, that culture is a little more difficult to build, that culture and that cohesiveness when, it's easier when you're in the office every day. So it's forcing those interactions among people who are remote.
Right. Yeah, I agree. We had no remote employees before then. Now I think we have maybe 8 or 10. And culture is so important. You're so right. I mean, there's nothing like just I think the water cooler conversations are priceless, because, at the end of the day, we're in a people business internally and externally, right? We're in the people business for our team, taking care of each other and our clients, whether it's you and your clients or whether it's me and my clients. So I think having that cohesive team and culture is very important. So we do a lot of things with our remote staff, on a daily and a weekly basis. What else do you guys do besides just the kind of quarterly meeting?
Yeah, so my whole mentality at the firm is my job is to make everyone's life easier. And so I try to take away, if it's attorney's time, I try to we are very administrative support heavy. So try to take away every non-billable task that they have on their plate. And, we do that kind of throughout the firm, and, we utilize leverage in a significant degree. What we do for our staff, we do, we serve breakfast and lunch every day in the office.
Wow.
We have a chef there that comes in, and that's one less thing that the attorneys and the staff have to focus on, and they can focus on their work and then getting home to their families.
You shouldn't have left.
Yeah.
The free perks. Are you missing the free perks?
Yeah. Hopefully I'm trimming the weight a little bit. So, yeah, that's the goal, is to make everybody's lives a little bit easier. And, it's worked out well. I think the employees appreciate it.
So that's a fantastic idea. Where did you come up with that?
I just thought of it. Yeah.
And how long have you been doing that?
Been doing it for prior to the pandemic, so at least 4 or 5 years at this point.
So that's a private chef employed by the firm to come in and breakfast and lunch. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's a fantastic perk here. I'm going to, as we grow, I think we'll need to grow a little bit for that, but I like it. And have you got great feedback? I mean, is the team very happy about that?
Yeah, team's happy. There's a salad option. There's like a hot food option. So team's happy. Just good mix.
Everybody loves food, right?
That's right.
You want to make anybody happy, it's food. So awesome. So that's a great way.
Yeah, so we do that. We do monthly barbecues as well. And what's interesting, I have other firms, other professional services firms. I'm also a CPA, so I have CPA practices as well as a financial advisory firm, a wealth management firm. And so a lot of times we'll do monthly barbecues, and then we invite the members of some of those other firms so that there's and external firms as well. So there's networking among all the related entities.
Oh, that's fantastic. You want to build that cohesive unit, because I'm sure you have clients that are using multiple services among the different organizations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really good. Wow, that's amazing. So seems like there's yes, there's the technician, but there is also that kind of entrepreneur spirit. Was as far as the different companies, what led you to just have all three different things besides the need? Was there anything else?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really client oriented and client centric. And what we're trying to do big picture is be that holistic advisor to the small to medium sized business owner and try to build out legal, accounting, et cetera, so that we can be that go-to advisor to solve those issues for the business owners.
Okay.
The Success in South Florida podcast is brought to you by the team at Rossen Law Firm. If you need DUI or criminal defense representation, call the Rossen Law Firm at 754-206-6200 or check the description of today's episode for more contact information. The Rossen Law Firm, helping good people when bad things happen so they can achieve their best futures.
So just seeing the need and taking advantage of it. Yeah, it's brilliant, especially when you can cross-refer. So the lead generation, I'm sure your lead gen costs must be lower than average, because there's a lot of cross-selling among the services.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. Now, you talked a little earlier that you guys also do some, criminal tax law and the intersection in some white collar cases. So obviously, that we do white collar as well. So talk to us about, how you got into that.
Sure. A lot of what I do is dealing with the IRS on sensitive and difficult issues. And a good number of my cases have what they call an eggshell issue, where it's an issue that you don't want the IRS to necessarily discover head on. And so I help counsel taxpayers who have difficult and sensitive issues with coming forward, complying with their tax obligations, or defending them from some type of audit or government investigation. And, sometimes those cases come to us at a later phase where the case has already been referred to the criminal division of the IRS, and we'll continue to represent them and provide them with the best advice possible in criminal representation.
Right. Okay. So you guys handle kind of the pre and the during. As far as
correct, yeah, and we partner with other white collar lawyers frequently on large sensitive cases. We will also partner with white collar counsel as well,
right? Because those cases are very complex, as you know. Yeah, absolutely. So that again, it seems like there's just anything to do with this, you guys have it covered, which is great, because there's a lot of people who might be able to handle one or two aspects and then refer out, some other complicated matters. But it's nice when you have that whole team, that can really, take care of everything, and you're not constantly getting somebody else up to speed.
Yeah, and our goal is the cases that don't make it into the public spotlight. And we've shut it down early enough where it's going to stay civil and it's going to be resolved civilly with the IRS, and nobody will ever hear about that case.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I always tell people, when they ask about my cases and the cases that we handle, and, oh, do you have any juicy stories or any big cases that we would know about? And I always say my favorite or the best cases are the one nobody knows about. The cases where there's never a mugshot. There's never an arrest. There's nothing to seal or expunge because we got in early during, investigation stage, and we made it all go away. Of course, trials are fun. Being a criminal lawyer, you gotta love trial. But I love it when we can just get in and make it all go away. So yeah, spot on. Those are the absolute best. So now, as you've been, you've grown the firm quite a bit. What are the goals on the horizon? Do you sit there and have like yearly kind of leadership team meetings and say, well, we want to be at this many employees, or we want to have offices in this many locations? From a business standpoint, what's on the horizon?
Yeah, I think it's profitable, controlled growth is important. We're in a trend where IRS enforcement is increasing. So we are currently in a mode where we're staffing up. We're proactively looking out, hiring people. We know, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, there's going to be more volume of cases. What we're looking to do now is build out more of a national presence. And we're continuing to do that. We're pushing into, Florida pretty heavily. But just, we're centered, our offices are in Annapolis, Maryland. We're centered in that DC corridor. But we continue to get cases, all over. And fortunately, most of what we do is federal in nature. So we have clients in California, in Texas, in New York. We're continuing to build out a more national presence.
Okay. And that decision to move down to Palm Beach, right? Follow your clients and move down. So is it just you in the Florida office now?
No, I have another attorney down here.
So there's two attorneys. How many support staff?
It's just her and I now. The support staff is all remote.
Okay, which is easy. Now, did you guys have an office that you go into, or are you just working from a home office?
We have some virtual offices we'll go into our downtown. What's interesting is it's very rare these days to actually meet a client in person. It's once or twice a month where I'm actually physically meeting my clients in person. Clients don't want to meet anymore, at least for tax issues.
Yeah, and especially when they already know you, trust you, Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, whatever it is, it's nice and easy to do that. So seems like you're doing really well and being able to manage everything. Now, as a recent South Florida transplant, one of the hundreds of thousands of people that fled the Northeast, do you like it here? What are your hobbies? What are you doing?
Yeah, I love it here. I'm a big boater. I love offshore fishing. I'm a big marlin and sailfish fishing guy. So I love it. I love anything outdoors and the beach. So it's hard to beat South Florida. And the restaurants too. The restaurants are key.
Okay. So, down here you get the boating all year round, right? Unlike the Northeast. So that's pretty. I mean, how is it in Maryland? Is it the winter months? Can you guys still go out?
Yeah, not a whole lot of boating in the winter months up there, but it's great in the summer months for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And so living it up in South Florida. Yeah. Look, it's a great place. We welcome you. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
So moving down here, and building your business, what advice do you have for really just anybody listening to the podcast? Just about anything as far as success or even some of your failures. We talk a lot about success, but some of my biggest successes have come right after, failures.
Yeah, I think it's important to reflect on what you're doing. And, it's always important to take a little bit of time and to digest, how did this go? How did that go? Also planning and projecting out. It's one thing building revenue, right? Building revenue is easy, but what revenue is profitable? How does that add to your bottom line? Because the worst thing you want to do is start trading dollars. And so really looking at your financial statements, digesting, hey, if I grow in this way, this means X to my bottom line. I think another big thing is delegation. So many business owners just don't delegate enough. They try to do it all. And I think it's a great way to start, start doing it all, do it all yourself, because yeah, you probably are the best one doing that. But as you continue to grow and expand, you need to start delegating certain tasks and find people that will complement your skills. I certainly have many attorneys and support staff that have stronger skills in many different respects than myself, and find people and hire people where you're weak and delegate to them. It'll make your life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and which is so difficult for a lot of attorneys. And why do you think that is?
Everybody, they have the mentality that they can do it the best and that no one can do it better in certain ways. And it's just, and some of that might be true, but if you can get somebody to 85% or 90%, and then you just have to do the additional 10%, that's going to be easy. But it's just hard for people to let go. I think the biggest thing, it's hard for people to change and embrace change. And in today's world, post-pandemic, everything is changing rapidly, and embrace change. Even the use of things like artificial intelligence, that's massive in adding a couple hours to your day. I used to have to write, these long drawn out emails to clients, to staff, et cetera. And now ChatGPT can do a whole lot of that for you. So,
right. So you guys embrace AI and technology?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so do we. We love it. Obviously, we all heard stories about the attorney in New York who, ChatGPT went a little haywire, but that's just negligence and laziness, right? And so it's unsurprising that happened to that attorney, but we use different programs that have guardrails on them. We're always double and triple checking. And I think for a lot of the things, especially the lower level tasks that can get you 70, 80% of the way there, or even 90% of the way there, it's spot on. We're big into tech here, at our firm, and ChatGPT and a bunch of the other ones. So it's helped us tremendously as well, just to be able to put content out faster, production, faster with just our legal research and writing. We're using some of the stuff now that's coming out for legal research and writing that's law specific, and it's been very helpful. Now, when you said about delegation, nobody can do it as good as me, and kind of that, desire to let go. I'm lucky because I've learned that, and I've always been somebody who embraces change. So I'm a little lucky, and I think I'm a little different than most lawyers, just how you're different than most lawyers, because most lawyers aren't building the firm, right, that you've built. There's a reason why they work for you, because they probably like the nitty gritty of what they have to do and don't want to deal with too much change. And I think I'm an amazing attorney. My ego says I think I'm the best. But I'm also smart enough to know that I've been able to hire amazingly talented attorneys that are just as good as me, if not better, and provide different perspectives and things, where then I can go and do some of the other things that they can't do, such as build a business, do the marketing, and just grow the firm and provide the culture aspect. So I'm with you 100% on what you're saying with that. And I think anybody listening to this really should hear that and know that, if you want to be that amazingly skilled technician, that's great. There's so many people that, that's a great life to live. But if you're also thinking about taking it, a step further and becoming more of that entrepreneur or that business leader, you have to embrace delegation and change. You just have to, or else you'll never be able to grow. You'll be stuck and stymied. And you could, again, live an amazing life and be very happy doing that, so long as that's what you want out of your life. Right? And I think people really need to know and understand what they want. Mm-hmm. Right? Because, I don't know about you, but I meet a lot of people. I speak nationwide at different conferences about business growth, law firm growth, leadership. And I always tell people, I say, you don't have to be like me. I'm fully out of production. I'm involved in the strategy of the cases because I love it, but I don't really go to court much anymore. And people don't have to be like me. Everybody doesn't have to be like me if you don't want to be. But if you want to be, then you're going to have to do some of those things, like letting go of the vine, as we call it. Mm-hmm. So are you in production at all?
For some of the higher level clients, I certainly will stay involved to a degree. I'm out of a lot of it, but I like to insert myself in certain circumstances to keep my skills fresh, to keep my skills sharp. I'm involved in that, but yeah, I'm also no longer going to court very often. I'll go occasionally, but not very often.
Yeah. I mean, because I still love, give me a DUI manslaughter where I'm helping with the strategy behind it, or a white collar case and the strategy behind it. Love it. We have attorney meetings where I always tell people it's like an ER. Like doctors in an ER and nurses doing their rounds every day. We do it every week. So I like being in the room. I like being a part of that. But as far as the nitty gritty technical stuff, it's just my skills and abilities are needed elsewhere for the business. So kind of very, very similar to you, Glenn. All right. So, are there any other parting thoughts that you really just have for anybody listening to this? That you want to, advice that you want to give, or anything else that you think our audience needs to know?
No, just really embrace change, and the first person in your respective industry that embraces that change, that sees the industry shifting, spots that opportunity, that's the person that's going to be successful. It's going to you're going to leave other people behind for sure. So embrace change, embrace technology. I think that's important.
Right. One thing you did say that I also want to hit on, you talked about complementary skills and weaknesses. So I think that's brilliant. And that's something that I learned about 20 years ago. So I was also a high school basketball coach, and I started doing that in law school. And growing up, it's all, especially if you play sports, or just the way I was taught in school, focus on your weaknesses, get better. And I think that has a place, but I'll never forget my second year coaching high school basketball. We had a very good team. I was the head JV basketball coach. And, I would hang around the varsity and watch because the team was amazing. And we had a player on our team who was a really good three-point shooter. That was his job. And again, it's high school. He was good at other things too. But this was a very talented team. And the head coaches told him, his name was Max, and they said, Max, when you catch the ball, if you're within 25 feet, shoot. You can do other things, but we really don't need you to. Your defense, yeah, you want to play good defense, but if it's just okay, that's fine. We don't really need you to hold, to dribble the ball and handle it. We don't need you to be a playmaker. You're amazing. You're better than 99% of the people that we play against at shooting the three and just, being that scorer. So you touch the ball, you do your job, and we'll get other people, right, complementary pieces to play that good defense, to handle the ball, to distribute, to be the playmaker, whatever it is. And, when I was 23, 24, really seeing that in action, that changed my mindset and my thinking. So I'm always looking for those complementary pieces. Where am I weak? And then who can I hire and bring on to the team to replace my weakness? And so that way I go deeper on my strengths with my mentors, my coaches, everything that we're doing, and just try to fill in the gaps. So the fact you said that's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because I think a lot of business owners there's always that thing that you don't want to do, and you're like, that really kind of hampers your growth. It kind of ruins your entire day. You're like, I don't really want to do that. Well, hire somebody that loves to do that and is really good at that, right? So we at our law firm, we have hyper technical people that'll analyze specific statutes and regulations, but they love it. Hire people that love those things, and then work with those people to figure out what they want to do. That's one important process in our firm is we, do quarterly reviews with everyone, and we talk about their performance. We talk about where they want to go. That's important. I think that professionals should really have a say in what their destiny looks like. So if they want to start working on a specific type of case or a specific type of practice, if they want to change it somewhat, we should start figuring out how we can market to that, get those types of cases, and start inserting them into that practice. And I think that's really helpful with retention and really helpful with just growth overall at the firm.
That's fantastic, because you're giving them an opportunity to really decide their own growth, or at least help in the process, right? And successful people, smart people, they want to be autonomous a lot of times and have, the ability to pick and choose what they're doing, especially when they're really good at it and highly technical. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. So Glenn, final question for you, okay? It's a big one.
Okay.
All right. There's no wrong answer, but it's a big one. I want you to think about it. Do you love to win, or do you hate to lose, and why?
I love to win. Winning is what it's all about. And, that goes every single client we represent, every single case, really zealous advocacy for our clients and getting the best result possible. That's our role. That's our role as lawyers, is to be zealous and relentless so that we get the best possible results. So I love winning.
Awesome. Perfect. Love it. Love it hearing it. And, great explanation. So Glenn, what's the best way for people watching this or listening to this to be able to find you if they want to contact you?
Absolutely. So you can go to my website. It's www.askfrost.com, ASKFROST.com, and all of our contact is right there.
Okay. All right. Perfect. You involved on social media at all, or not so much?
Not a ton of social media. A little bit on LinkedIn, but not a ton of social media.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. Glenn, thank you so much. I think this was so informative for people. If anybody ever needs, an amazing tax controversy law firm, powerful, big, and, all the different subspecialties, definitely want to reach out. And if you just have any questions at all or want some advice, because Glenn, you're a wealth of entrepreneurial business and, law firm and CPA knowledge. So I really think everything that you've done to build all of your companies seems really intentional, really well thought out. It's brilliant. So yeah. I love it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate everything. Thank you.